But some people think, oh, we should have a more diverse police force. And I thought, well, New York has one of the most diverse police forces in the United States and a pretty terrible record when it comes to abusing people of color. I mean, to be the one forced to carry out a structurally racist policy and then to take off your uniform and be stopped. Like in East Harlem, there was actually an off-duty police officer in 2009 who was chased and shot and killed on 125th Street by another officer from the same precinct. But he didn't know. The guy was plainclothes, and he just thought he was some, black guy who didn't follow orders, decided to run, whatever, and he shot another officer to death in Harlem because of the color of his skin. And unfortunately, if you're a person of color, running away from a command is enough to claim that you're suspicious enough to be killed.
Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves, and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging.
People of color are automatically viewed as more suspicious, and it's not just policing that does that, it's the media that does that. I mean, and it's every level of our society that still holds those prejudices, and there's so many different ways in which those prejudices are enforced.
There's a discrepancy between how blacks are looked at to a crime and how whites are looked at a crime. You know what I mean? You can see the difference. I personally feel there's a difference of law.
After Trayvon Martin was killed, there was actually people on TV saying that, the problem was the hoodie that he wore. See, that was the real problem, that he had a hoodie and only hoodlums wear hoodies, and that whole narrative kind of came up.
Am urging the parents of black and Latino youngsters particularly to not let their children go out wearing hoodies. I think the hoodie is as much responsible for Trayvon Martin's death as George Zimmerman was.
I think when a young white male is in front of a judge compared to a young black male, I think it's a disconnect. You know what I mean? Because I think the constant portrayal in media is that you feel like they're instinctually aggressive, instinctually criminalized. So as a judge or maybe as a jury, you say that's where they probably belong.
I go into the bodega and there's actually a sign that says no hoodies or ski masks. That you're trespassing if you have a hoodie on. And those signs apparently were all over Harlem. Apparently there's a guy from Philly who's been selling these things, $10 a pop out of his car, all over the Northeast, and stores have been buying them up. And I just started to think about that, and I was like, wow, you can get stopped because you're a person of color wearing a hoodie. There's tons of crimes being committed by people with suits on.
Do you know about the NYPD's broken window strategy?
Yeah, that smaller crimes are going to be more heavily looked at than larger crimes. I think there's a waste of time.
It's also about the types of crimes that we choose to focus on. No one's stopping and frisking Wall Street bankers. Mm-hmm. No one is stopping and frisking 15-year-old white kids on the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side. I'm not saying that we necessarily should, but it's clear that there is one class of people in this city where it's okay to do that. It's okay to hold certain people in this city at gunpoint for simply being where they are in that moment. And there's another class in this city that is simply not okay to do that.
Selling cigarettes isn't typically, it's not a violent crime or anything, yet pretty strong reaction from the officers in the back and forth according to the video. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that aspect, and for the mayor, a lot of people were looking to you to reform the NYPD, to change things, and what would you say to them today?
The issue of the sale of individual cigarettes, loosies as they're called, which is apparently the action that the officers were asked to address at this location. While seemingly a small, maybe innocuous matter to most people, that quite obviously to the shop owners in that area who lost sales of cigarettes that in fact had tax stamps to this illegal type of activity. It was a concern to them because they repeatedly called to ask the police to do something about this violation of the law. And it was for that reason that the officers were in fact directed to that location. So again, a seemingly minor quality of life offense, if you will, but it's one that, as the New York City Police Department is asked to address every day, because in fact it is complained about, it's the subject of 9/11 calls, and it is of concern to the quality of life as well as the business vitality in some of these neighborhoods.
I think it's a waste of time for our tax money, because I would like them look for murderers and rapists than, you know, giving someone a citations for jaywalking. I mean, the whole police department, the first police department in America is a slave patrol. It was called Patty Rollers, by the way. So they come from, I guess, the basis of, you know, keeping blacks in order.
Policing in New York City and criminal justice system in New York City, and probably in every major jurisdiction in the country, has been since the beginning racist. One of the police department's main purpose has been to contain and sanction and punish the population in that jurisdiction that might be considered to be different or undesirable or riffraffy.
I've only had a gun pointed at my head once in my life, and that was by a police officer. It wasn't by someone in my community.
To be honest, I don't really feel like I have a proper opinion on them because I've never really had any personal encounters with them. And I mean, all I've seen right now is, you know, what's going on in the news, so I feel like that opinion's kind of biased because obviously not all police officers are bad.
I've been stopped 3 times in the subway because I look older than my age. I'm 16. Using a student Metro card. I guess suspicion that I might have mugged a teenager to get a Metro card, which seems quite far-fetched.
Have you ever been stopped by a police officer?
I live in Bed-Stuy, which is between a gentrification right now. So during the gentrification, I think in 07, 08, I couldn't come out my apartment building without getting stopped and frisked.
I understand that some people, you know, you're taking away, at the very least, you're taking away people's time. So I understand people may not be happy with it, but I can also assure you that I go to communities of color, people want more.
Do you think you were treated with adequate respect?
No, because, you know, I think it was like he tried to engage me with slang, and I didn't really care for it. You know what I mean? He said, "Oh, do you have any hammers on you? Or, you know, we're your homies tonight." And it was just like, I mean, being a person that is on an educated level, I don't think a person of law enforcement should try to engage me in that way at all.
It didn't seem like such a bad thing for me, at least, because it was easy. I just show them my ID and get away with it. I can see why it would be really problematic for other people, especially some people of color that might be pressed. It's not about individuals, it's about the system as a whole.
Listen to me. When you're walking the block with your hood up and you keep looking back on us like that, bro, you think you might have something.
Because I had my hoodie in there.
They do that. You have your hoodie on your body.
Well, because it was cold.
Yeah.
You gonna smack me? You gonna smack me? No, you asked me why I have a book bag on.
Who are you talking to?
You asked me why I had a book bag on. You asked me if I had a book bag on. Yo, why are you? Come on, why are you touching me for?
Do you know any recent cases that have been in the media about racial profiling in the police force?
I mean, I know there's a lot, but I don't really look into detail about them. You know, I know that there are obviously some going on, but to my knowledge, not in detail.
Yeah, none. I don't. Not that I know of.
Do you think this issue concerns you personally?
A lot of people, you know, when they think about it, a lot of people just think about it like, oh, you know, okay, this happened. It's not in my city, or you know, I still wake up and do my daily routine, so a lot of people have that same mindset. You know, I wake up, nothing happened to me, so I guess, you know, it's not gonna affect me in any way.
It only affects me if it affects my friends. So other than that, it doesn't bother me. So yeah.
for police officers in New York. I think there just needs to be set rules, and they're like a very obvious line, and what is allowed and what is not allowed.
For us, the issue is not police brutality, because that suggests these individual egregious incidents. Our issue is the systemic day-to-day injustices and blatantly racist practices of the NYPD. For cops to advance within the NYPD, they have to get with the program. It also speaks to the issue of having more black and brown police officers will not successfully correct the problem, because black and brown police officers have to get with the program also.
Like, there's no real one way to get rid of structural racism, but you can start by not enforcing it with your police department.
We should, as advocates and organizers, lay this at the doorstep of the people in power.
Don't shoot!